Welcome everyone to the special council meeting of March 24th, 2026. A couple of reminders for today's meeting. Members of the media may sit in the upper balcony at the reserved media table. All other guests take a seat in the first floor gallery. If that is full, there is overflow seating on the second floor in the Victoria Room where you will be able to see and hear the meeting. We live stream the meeting on our YouTube channel and the recording is available after the meeting. Because meetings are accessible to the public in these ways, video or audio recording by members of the public is not permitted in council chambers. This is to ensure all attendees and those who come to make a deputation feel at ease. Thank you for your cooperation. I will turn the meeting over to Councillor Perry, who is chair of the Kawartha Lakes-Haliburton Housing Corporation, and you can do adoption of the agenda, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you to all attending. This is indeed the annual general meeting of the shareholders of the Kawartha Lakes-Haliburton Housing Corporation. I want to thank all my council colleagues and the staff at the Housing Corporation for all their great work during the year as we provide affordable housing to residents here across Kawartha Lakes and in Haliburton County. And as you said, Mayor, it is my honor to be chair and serving in this role as a councillor. If we look at the agenda, that was the call to order. Agenda item 1. We'll move to adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion that the agenda for this shareholders meeting be adopted as circulated? Councillor Warren, Councillor MacDonald. Any debate, discussion, errors, omissions, changes, or the like? Seeing none. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions, if any? The agenda is adopted as circulated. Looking at the minutes from our previous AGM that were circulated in advance, the open session minutes were attached and circulated, and I need a motion that we adopt those open session minutes of the AGM back from December 4th, 2024 as circulated. Thank you, Councillor Ashmore. Is there a seconder? Councillor Doble, thank you very much. Any discussion of the minutes, additions, subtractions, typos, kudos? I'll provide the kudos. Thank you for doing the minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions, if any? Seeing none, the open session minutes of the AGM of December 10th, 2024 are approved as circulated. We also have to update our minutes from last July. That's item 3.2 on the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from last July of the meeting of shareholders from July 22nd, 2025. Deputy Mayor Richardson, thank you. Is there a seconder on that? Councillor Warren, thank you. That the minutes of the meeting of the shareholder meeting, of the shareholders of July 22nd, 2025 be approved as circulated. Debate or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions, if any? The motion is carried, and the minutes of the shareholder meeting of July 22nd, 2025 are approved as circulated. New business. Here we have the audited financial statements. This is item 4 on your agenda, and I'll turn it over to Treasurer Daines to make a brief presentation of the financial statements as audited by Deloitte & Touche.
Thank you, Councillor Perry, and thank to the council for having me. Obviously we're doing the 2024 audited financial statements today, not the 2025. Those our audit starts for that next week. So I just wanted to be clear that we're doing the 2024. So we actually finished the year in 2024 for KLH in a deficit of approximately $180,000, and we had enough reserve money in our operating surplus reserve to cover that deficit. So we're currently sitting at a break-even position for this for the 2024 year. The reason for the deficit was mainly around the security expenses that are a normal course of business now for Kawartha Lakes-Haliburton Housing. So that resulted in the major reason for the deficit. We've had a few big projects mainly around the in 2024 finish. Hamilton Street was added as a capital asset in 2024, and Murray and Gull are currently underway. Other than that, there's really nothing I need to say about the financial statements unless there's questions.
Thank you very much, Treasurer Daines. And I'd like to move 4.1 in omnibus, that the shareholder report, the 2024 audited financial statements be received, that the auditor's report be received, and the audit financial statements from 2024 be approved, and that Deloitte & Touche be appointed once again as auditors for the year ending last December 31st for that fiscal year. May I have a mover of the motions from 4.1, please? Councillor MacDonald, a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Doble. Are there any questions or comments or debate around the audited financial statement? As mentioned by Treasurer Daines, already audited to a sterling audit by Deloitte & Touche LLP. Questions, comments? Yes, Director Faber.
I just wanted to provide a bit of context given the 2024 deficit of the 180,000 as Treasurer Daines articulated for security. As we moved into the 2025 budget, the staff, given Shelley, Manager Smith and Manager Quibel, we actually looked at the security costs as well, and so we've done some readjustments in 2025. I guess I just wanted the shareholder to know that. We've been monitoring that this year. We had a further security assessment done, a second one to validate that actually everything we are doing from a safety perspective for the tenants in our buildings is at a very what would I say, a high standard, and there isn't much more that we can be doing other than locking all the doors without push bars and having people stand at our doors from a security perspective. So we are monitoring this year, so it'll be interesting to see in 2025 as we hit year end where we actually end on that front. So I just wanted the shareholder to know that it had been a rising cost through COVID, but we are monitoring and putting in new ways of doing business from a staff perspective.
Great. Thank you, Director Faber, for that additional context and background. Looking for any additional comments on the motions from 4.1, agenda item 4.1. Going once, going twice. Seeing none then, all in favor? Opposed? Then the motions are carried. Agenda item 4.2, we have some recommendations regarding signing authority. The bylaw that governs the corporation needs to be revised and updated. A housekeeping matter, from what I understand. Director Faber, would you like to speak to that? Actually, I'll get a mover and a seconder, that the report about the signing authority be received. We'll start with that. Councillor Warren, seconded by Deputy Mayor Richardson. Thank you. Director Faber.
Yes, and just for context, through you to the shareholder, this was basically a change in title. It was a supervisor that moved to a manager, and we just readjusted the language in the bylaw to adjust the title change.
Thank you, Director Faber, and this is why we get the big bucks with these huge substantive decisions that weigh heavy on our shoulders. Seeing any debate on the title change? Seeing none then, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion is received then, the report rather, the recommendation, and now we have to do the technical aspect, which is that bylaw 11 be endorsed and recommended for adoption, that it be adopted to replace bylaw 9 again with the title change. May I have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Doble, seconder, Councillor MacDonald. Any debate or question on the title change? Nothing new. Seeing none, then all in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion is carried. Both motions in 4.2 are carried. May I have a motion to adjourn the annual general meeting? Councillor Doble, Councillor Warren, all in favor? Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned.
So the special council meeting of March 24th, 2026. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Perry, Councillor Deputy Mayor Richardson, all in favor, and that's passed. Now we adjourn. All in favor, and that's passed. Thank you. Call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, to the regular council meeting of March 24th, 2026. A couple of reminders for today's meeting. Members of the media may sit in the upper balcony at the reserved media table. All other guests, please take a seat in the first floor gallery. If that is full, there is overflow seating on the second floor in the Victoria Room where you will be able to see and hear the meeting. We live stream the meeting on our YouTube channel, and the recording is available after the meeting. This meeting is also broadcast Live on your TV, Cogeco Subscribers Channel 10, HD Channel 700, and rebroadcasted on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and on Saturday at noon. Because meetings are accessible to the public in all these ways, video or audio recording by members of the public is not permitted in council chambers. This is to ensure that all attendees and those who come to make a deputation feel at ease. Thank you for your cooperation. I ask you to rise for our national anthem.
The true north, strong and free, from far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. We'll now have a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Councillor Warren, I think you have the adoption of the open session agenda.
I do, through you. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Joyce, that the agenda for the open session of the regular council meeting of Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 be adopted as circulated.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, changes? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on anything on today's agenda? Councillor Warren.
Through you, yes, I have a pecuniary interest on 11.1.17. I live on Falls Bay Road.
Thank you. Will you be absenting yourself, or will you just not participate?
I always leave the room.
If any other pecuniary interests or conflicts arise during the course of the meeting, advise the chair. We'll deal with them accordingly. Notices and information by members of council. Councillor Doble.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two items I'd just like to draw to your attention. Easter in the Park is a free, family-friendly event hosted by the Kawartha Lakes Parks and Recreation in partnership with Revel Realty Inc. and Kawartha Lakes Public Library, and it will take place at Victoria Park Armory in Lindsay this Saturday, March the 28th, not Easter Saturday, but this Saturday. The key details include there are 2 entry times. This is a popular event that has been going on for many, many years. 2 entry times, 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Activities such as craft station, story time, and egg hunt, photos with the Easter Bunny, games, and more. All registered children receive a festive take-home goodie bag. Instead of a registration fee, participants are asked to bring a non-perishable food donation to support the Kawartha Lakes food source. Pre-registration is required for all children attending. Adults do not need to register. And for more information and to register, you can visit the Easter in the Park event page on the City of Kawartha Lakes website. The Kawartha Art Gallery is proud to announce its second concert as part of the 2025-2026 series, the Young Musicians Showcase. This event takes place on Wednesday, April 15 at 7 p.m. at Celebrations. That's at 35 Lindsay Street North here in Lindsay, and will feature young musicians from 4 of our local schools: LCVI, Mariposa Elementary School, Rolling Hills Public School, and the newly formed Kawartha Lakes Youth Concert Band. Proceeds from the concert will go towards supporting music programming for youth in the City of Kawartha Lakes and the Kawartha Lakes Art Gallery, and the concert is meant to bring awareness to the importance of music programs in schools. As a former music teacher myself, I am very excited by this, and I want to express my kudos to the Kawartha Art Gallery for championing our local young musicians, and to my friend and fellow music teacher, Beth Wilson from Mariposa Elementary School. Tickets are $10 available in advance and at the door. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to share the kudos for John Thurston with Councillor Ashmore, but we're also proud of you, John, for winning the gold. And what we're looking at is maybe renaming a road in your honor. So we're working on that, and well done. I want to thank PC Danes from the OPP for a very candid and informative coffee with a cop gathering last Friday. And it was heartening. You think on a Friday night, who's going to come out on a Friday night? Well, there were over 20 people that came out. So it was a big success. And I want to thank Lynn Nichols from the Bob Cajun Legion for helping out. So the province of Ontario has advanced a proposal to consolidate the existing 36 conservation authorities into a smaller number of large regional conservation authorities, initially proposed as 7, with later refinements identifying 9. These new regional conservation authorities would cover significantly larger multi-watershed regions, in most cases combining several existing authorities and their participating municipalities into single governance units. The conservation authorities in the city of Kawartha Lakes will be combined into a new Eastern Lake Ontario conservation area covering almost 19,000 square kilometers from Manila to Brockville, east to west, and from the shore of Lake Ontario to as far north as Bancroft, south to north. 7 existing conservation authorities are combined into this single regional unit. From a governance perspective, the model introduces enhanced provincial oversight through a proposed Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency, OPCA, who will be aiming to improve standardization, efficiency, and service delivery across regions. Municipal governance will continue with representation at the upper tier and single tier level on governance boards. The province has indicated that transition planning will be coordinated through the OPCA with a target implementation timeline early in 2027, aiming to maintain service continuity while integrating staff, programs, and assets into the new region structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Thanks so much, Mayor. And spring is definitely trying to spring in Ward 3. Coming up, we have our Easter extravaganza, Saturday, April 4th from 10 a.m. to 1. Treat bags, shopping, restaurants will be open, fun for the whole family, and more, Mayor, with opportunities to meet the Easter Bunny and receive a golden egg prize. Also, the Country Living Show, the world-renowned Country Living Show is coming up at the Community Center in Fenelon Falls, April 17th to 19th. Be sure and get there early. Admission is free, and there are always vendors and activities for all ages as we prepare for summer living here in Kawartha Lakes. Last but not least, I'd like to commend the Fenelon Falls Farmers Market on their AGM last week. The Fenelon Farmers Market seems to grow every year. It's located at the corner of John and Bond Street West every Friday morning in the summer from May 2-4 on, from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. Lots of local products, and there we can certainly buy Kawartha. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, this is advance save the date notice on the 19th annual Machik dinner, the Machik Lindsay dinner, being held at the Victoria Park Armory, where you can enjoy Tibetan Asian fusion cuisine, catered by Karma's Cafe. Includes a bazaar and a silent auction at $50 per seat. So what is Machik? I'm glad you asked. Machik is one of my favorite charities. I've been a part of it for many years, centered on the Ragby family. It's a story of perseverance and resilience. It supports a primary school in Chamba, Tibet. And if you know anything about Tibet, they are under constant attack by the People's Republic of China. Their attack in terms of their culture, their language, their lands, their whole way of life. And we have a very, very strong connection between Lindsay and Chamba through Machik to support this school that young students need to further their education. The Ragby family, a little side note, Pencho and Sering and their 2 children, Tashi and Losang, have all been awarded the Meritorious Service Medal by Governor General Mary Simon, right here in our Lindsay, for their work on Machik. So again, I encourage you to buy tickets. Contact Kathy at 705-324-2037, or through myself. I'd be happy to connect you. The library. Always something happening at the libraries. On April 18th, the Kinmount Friends and Garden Club will host their annual Seedy Saturday event. That same day also marks the launch of a new seed library at the Lindsay branch. Seed exchanges allow residents to borrow and share seeds, helping gardeners try new varieties while supporting local biodiversity. Then from April 18th to the 22nd, all branches will be marking Earth Day. And in collaboration with our Waste Services Department, the library will distribute an Earth Day challenge sheet that highlights practical ways residents can make everyday choices that are a little greener. Participants who complete the challenge can enter a draw to win a reusable Yeti prize. And each package will also include an onion bag and instructions for creating a nesting material bird station, which residents can place outdoors to provide birds with safe materials to build their nests. Branches also offer hands-on family activity where participants can design their own garden marker and seed packet and take home wildflower seeds to plant and help support pollinators. These activities, Earth Day activities, reinforce the City of Kawartha Lakes' commitment as both a bee city and a certified bee-friendly municipality. And last note from CEO Jamie Anderson, stay tuned in the coming months for more stuff on plants, tools, kitchen appliances, and a jigsaw puzzle swap. Yes.
Always something going on at the...
My last one here is my friend and fellow board member Wesley Lesotho. He's on the Kawartha Lakes Healthcare Initiative. Sent me a little note here. On the British Airways High Life magazine, there is a blurb here focused on Toronto, Canada. But I won't read the whole paragraph. I'll just read the last sentence. It says, "Now is also a great time to explore the nearby wine regions of Prince Edward County and Niagara, or cottage country corners such as Muskoka and the Kawartha Lakes." So there you go, folks. We got mentioned in the British Airways High Life magazine. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, through you. I'll start off with Friday, April 17th. There's a Spotlight of Agriculture project. This is the first Lamplight Social Evening, offering a welcome space for networking, learning for the community. Features guest speaker Bev Bowerman King. This event encourages practical strategies from her work, teachings, fostering strong connections with their agriculture. So if anybody wants to go, there's a limited capacity. It's at the Little Britain Community Center from 7 to 10. Should be fun. April 25th, Lindsay Chamber of Commerce Evening of Excellence. We all know that's a great gala, 5 to 11 at Victoria Park Armories. Please come out, get your tickets, support the Chamber and all the great leaders in our community. Another one is the Fleming College Logger Sports team, based out of the Frost campus in Lindsay, made history in March by securing a national doubles victory. Men's and women's A-team named the national champs at the 40th annual Rick Russell Loggership competition, so congrats to all them. And the last one, we also have our spring home show in Lindsay this week at the Agriculture. There'll be lots of vendors, so please come out and take a look at some ideas for the summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Omimi Community Fund is hosting an Easter event this coming April 3rd at the Omimi Legion, and there'll be crafts and activity stations for families, and Zoo to You Petting Zoo will be there, and of course Easter Bunny will be there in Omimi, and that's on April 3rd, and funds will go towards the Omimi Community Fund. I'd like to congratulate a former warden of Victoria County in 1986 and Reeve of Emily Township, Mr. Don McCumber. He received the Long Service Award, Meritorious Service Medal for 50 years service with the Royal Canadian Legion. Don lives in Nova Scotia, and he's part of the Wedgeport branch, Nova Scotia Legion, Royal Canadian Legion, and I just wanted to congratulate him on that achievement. And he was the former past president of the Omimi Legion, and of course served as an elected official in Emily Township and the former Victoria County. And finally, certainly like to congratulate John Thurston for winning the Olympic gold medal. It's quite an honor to have a gold medalist among us here in Kawartha Lakes, and a native of Dunsford, and just an incredible achievement that John and his team achieved in Milano, Italy, a few weeks ago. It's just he's certainly at the top of his game, as are his teammates, and certainly proudly represented not only Dunsford and Kawartha Lakes, but Canada as well. So quite an honor, and when he's certainly had some great. Last few weeks, he was honored at the Peterborough Memorial Centre by the Peterborough Petes, because he is a member of the curling club in Peterborough as well, and they honored him. And also, just recently, it's been announced that on April 12th, please join us at the Dunsford Community Centre to celebrate the Paralympic gold medalist John Thurston. It'll be from on April 12th, from 1 to 4 at the Dunsford Community Centre. After representing Canada at the 2022 Paralympics and earning a bronze 4 years ago, John has now reached the top, bringing home gold this year in 2026 at his curling with his curling team at the 2026 Paralympics. So, from Dunsford to the world stage, it's an achievement our whole community is proud of, and please come out and say hello and celebrate John's amazing achievement on April 12th, and hopefully we'll get John here at Council Chambers in the next month or so, so that'll be great as well. So, with the big events planned for April 12th, and if you're in the area, the Dunsford area, please come out just to say hello and congratulate John. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson, Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. First off, kick off the season at the Bethany United Church this Saturday, 28th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the first spring craft show, offering unique handmade goods and supporting local artisans. There's something for everyone. Bring the whole family to the Long Sault Snowmobile Club Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 4th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 320 Sandy Hook Road in Pontypool for just $1,500, jeepers. $15, enjoy lunch, photos, and a special surprise. Register online. I did have the opportunity to speak last week at the AGM of the Fowler's Corners District Lions Club, and I do want to give them a much deserved shout out. This group raised over $86,000 last year just from their 2025 cruise nights, and this generosity has actually supports 30 local service groups and agencies, and that's a pretty impressive impact for our community. So thank you for all those that attend and run, and it's just fantastic to see that input. And tomorrow, taking place, March 25th, is the first ever in-STEAM event at the Ampere Kawartha Lakes Market Space, which will bring 100 local high school students together, females, grades 11 to 12 for the day. It's about empowerment through education, engagement, and career opportunities in the in-STEAM fields. So it's going to be a really super amazing day. It's got quite a lineup for tomorrow. And also, I do want to take the opportunity to recognize the passing of Art Field, who was the founder of the Little Britain Merchants Sea Hockey Group, which was established in 1978. He's a Sports Hall of Fame inductee. He has been a very huge dedication volunteer for hockey and baseball. I was very fortunate to have a couple of my boys play under Art's group, and you know what? He has provided a stepping stone for a lot of hockey athletes in our area, so I did want to acknowledge that. So thank you, through you.
Thank you. I have one announcement. The Kawartha Lakes Funders Forum will be held on April 9th at the Victoria Park Armory from 8:30 to 12:30. Attendees from local organizations and businesses will learn about funding opportunities, eligibility criteria, and application timelines for grants and other available supports. The event is directed to Indigenous partners, not-for-profits, arts and culture groups, community groups with networking sessions, keynote presentation, and opportunities for one-on-one conversations. If you are interested in attending, you can register online or contact our economic development team for more information. Thank you. CAO, any announcements from staff? No, nothing. Thank you. Moving on. I need a motion that the minutes of the regular council meeting of February 24th, 2026 be received and adopted. Councillor Perry, seconder, Councillor Warren. All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on, we have no deputations, no correspondence, no presentation. Well, I think there is correspondence. There's one item in your yellow folder that we probably should receive. So I have a motion to receive that correspondence. Councillor McDonald, seconder. Deputy Mayor Richardson. All in favor? Hold them high. All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on, we have no presentations for today, and we come down to Committee of the Whole. And I need a motion that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of March 10th, 2026 be received and the recommendations included in section 9.3 of the agenda be adopted, save and accept 935, 9311, 9330, and 9331. I have a mover and seconder. Councillor Joyce, Deputy Mayor McDonald, Councillor McDonald. I gave you a promotion there for a minute. All in favor? And that's passed. First extraction is 935. Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I have a recommendation for this, so if I get a second, I'd like to speak to it.
Councillor Doble.
Thank you. Jason McDonald did a deputation there at the Committee of the Whole requesting development charges being waived. I would like to send it back to staff to summarize the application and also the impact that it would be, that would cause the taxpayers. And the end of Q2 would be fine with me, and I've talked to Leanne, so that seems to be okay with you. So that's basically my recommendation, to send it back to staff for that information.
Thank you. Councillor Doble, do you want to speak to it? Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. So the motion is to return it to staff for a report back second quarter. Thank you. Moving on, item 9311, procurement policy. Councillor Perry, you had that as an extraction.
I do, thank you, Mayor. And really, this is a procedural matter that I'd like to request a legal opinion arising from the report. In the report from staff, and I've been working back and forth with staff, so thank you for that correspondence last week. The report draws a conclusion that a strong interpretation that the Ontario Discriminatory Business Practices Act would apply to geographic location, and thereby not permitting the city in its procurement practices to show preference for local Kawartha Lakes by Kawartha suppliers and bidders. A couple of things on that, in that it's my understanding that that is not necessarily applicable to procurement policy, that the Ontario Business Practices Discriminatory Business Practices Act is actually remedial punitive legislation designed to conduct boycotts, those kinds of things, not procurement policy. It isn't policy-covered legislation after all. It's designed to apply to things like if the city of Kawartha Lakes wouldn't take bids from, say, Niagara region because we didn't like their policies, or say a supplier couldn't not do business with City of Kawartha Lakes on the basis that, say, we discriminated and employed Métis people, for example. Those are the functionings of the Discriminatory Business Practices Act. It's about business practices, is my understanding. I'm always learning and wanting to know more. So given this high stakes, if that interpretation in the report is adopted, as you saw in the report, that means we would not be able to give any preferential treatment or points in the procurement process for Kawartha Lakes. And so what I'm asking for is, so that we can make an informed decision, know that issue of applicability, as I have a competing understanding, and so would like to have a legal opinion back so we can make a fully informed decision, given that I know around this council table we've all been looking for and talking about ways to encourage local acquisition and procurement. Thank you. And that would come back at end of Q2, Mayor.
So you're asking for this to be sent back to staff for a legal opinion on...
Specifically on the application of the Ontario Discriminatory Business Practices Act.
Okay.
More than
the whole procurement policy is going back, not just that portion. Or are you moving the rest of the procurement policy except that?
Yes, that would be fine. It's that one applicability that could be fatal to our desire. The law is the law, but there's only a paragraph in the report. It has huge consequences, in my opinion, and I would just like a more detailed understanding, a legal opinion on the applicability, given my understanding is it may not apply to procurement after all. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Doble, did you wish to speak to it?
Yes, Mayor, I wholeheartedly agree with Councillor Perry's concern. The provision that restricts it really bothers me. I believe that as it stands, small municipalities, or that is to say, municipalities with a small commercial base, are particularly disadvantaged by that. So I'm certainly interested in seeing all options that are available to us, and if that's by way of a legal opinion, so be it. But I totally support Councillor Perry's motion.
Thank you. Councillor Deputy Mayor Richardson, I'll get it right before the end of the day.
It's all good, thank you. Through you, Mayor. My question then stems from the direction that we're giving is how long would this take to get this legal opinion? So, because I know the Act's very specific when it comes to that local preference, and council needs to comply, but what would that time frame look like for us so we're aware?
Well, I think Councillor Perry's asking for second quarter. Ms. Carlson is online. Did you hear the request, Ms. Carlson? What's a reasonable timeline to respond?
The proposed timeline is a reasonable timeline for a response.
Okay. Are you good with that?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a question, and I think all of us sitting around the table definitely want to support if we can locally. And if there is an option or a loop in there that we can explore that, then we should look at it.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce, you also have this extracted. Is this part and parcel of your extraction, or you have something different?
Along the same lines, but I was coming at it, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Along the same lines, but I was coming at it in a little bit different way here. Section 5.5.1 and 5.5.2 says Ontario preference and then Canadian preference below these CFTA and CETA thresholds. I'd like to see the wording strengthened there some way, somehow, by staff, where by Canadian is a must, not a preference. Obviously, there'll be exceptions where you can't, impossible to source in Canada. We have to go outside. But here's an example. Here's a pen, cost $1, made in China. This pen I sourced out in Canada. It costs more, but guess what? They both write on ink on paper just as well. I know our constituents, we see all the elbows up signs around and people stop traveling to the US. Our constituents will support buying this more expensive pen, and that's what I want to see going forward. This policy doesn't have the wording to drive that preference. So I'd like to see the wording strengthened up some way, somehow, that we are buying Canadian. Thank you.
So that's different from Councillor Perry's motion.
It is.
So I'll come back to you after we deal with Councillor Perry's motion that's on the table, okay?
Very good.
Right. Councillor Ashmore, did you?
No, I just agree with it because we need some clarification, and sometimes it's disheartening when you see local businesses that are, employ people, families depend on them, and we see these. We have to have some sort of clarity here, and sort of show the public that we're doing our best to try and be inclusive to our local people here, not just Canada, but where we live here, Kawartha Lakes. This is where our bread is buttered on. So we need to get some clarity in the legal opinion. Hopefully that'll help.
Okay. Councillor Perry, do you want to sum up?
Just briefly, I want to thank Solicitor Carlson for taking this on and within the timeline prescribed. And then also, we will get a more detailed legal opinion back, given the high stakes of that applicability or not, whether geographic location applies to procurement policy or not. And then that still empowers us then at the political level to decide, how we want to proceed with policy based on the full legal analysis beyond the paragraph in the report, which to me is our due diligence. Thank you, Mayor.
So right now, all we're doing is extracting that one portion on buy Canadian or local purchasing.
No, it's the paragraph that says, I think it says something like, accordingly, the business practices, the Ontario Discriminatory Business Practices Act applies, and we are unable to purchase from or give purchase preference based on geographic location. Geographic location is in the Act. I'm just not confident right now that it applies at all to procurement. It's
right.
More a punitive statute around practices.
What I'm getting at is we are only extracting that portion.
Yes, on my motion.
Councillor Joyce has another one, so we're not going to pass the rest of it until Councillor Joyce has had.
Sounds
so
good to
right
me.
now, your motion is only dealing with that one issue.
That's correct, Mayor. I want to try to keep it simple.
Everybody, is that clear as mud? Yeah. Okay. All in favor? That's passed. Now, Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, the convenience of this is Councillor Perry's and my motion are both landing in section 5.5, so we're only holding back this exact same section, but for different reasons. And my motion is to ask staff to reword section 5.5.1 and 5.5.2 that in some way engages staff to buy Canadian, buy Ontario, when in, not preference, but how do I say this? If it can be sourced in Canada or Ontario, then they have to buy Ontario or Canada.
Well, I think, price has to come in here somewhere. You can't tie our purchasing people's hands when we're trying to balance budgets and things by asking them not to consider price in a purchase.
Mr. Mayor, this pen from China supported a job for the importer and the salesperson who sold it to me. This pen, sourced in Canada, is made from recycled plastic. It supported many, many more jobs in Canada to get it through a supply chain within Canada. yes, it costs more. And my position is buy less pens, but pay more for them.
Is there a seconder for that? Okay, Councillor Ashmore, you want to speak to it?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, you want to sum up?
I think, given the geopolitical situation we're all living in today, we have to band together and support our fellow Canadians coast to coast to coast.
Sorry, Councillor Doble. You okay? All in favor? And that fails. Anybody want to, I think that section is removed to deal with Councillor Perry's issue. Somebody want to move the rest of the procurement policy? Deputy Mayor Richardson, Councillor Warren. Want to speak to it or just move it? You okay? All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on to 9330, which is the request for support soil health report. Councillor Warren, that's yours.
Yes, through you, it was just to receive, so actually, report ED 2026-011, request for support, soil health report be received, that council support the concepts of enhancing soil health contained within the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture and Forestry report entitled Critical Ground, Why Soil is Essential to Canada's Economic, Environmental, Human, and Social Health. That Council encourage the federal and provincial governments to further investigate the implementation of recommendations contained within the report and recognize the urgency of protecting and conserving soil health. That Council direct staff to consider, where locally appropriate, the inclusion of soil health protection measures and related recommendations during future dates to the official plan economic development. Sorry, and the rest of that strategy and agricultural and food action plan, that this resolution be forwarded to the Standing Senate Committee on Agriculture and Forestry, Prime Minister of Canada, Federal Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food and Rural Economic Development, Federal Minister of Health, Federal Minister of the Environment and Climate Change, Member of Parliament Jamie Schmale. And so this came from the Agricultural Advisory Board, and the only change that I made here at this table was to take out in principle, because in principle really has no power. So I talked to Kelly Maloney, who's the manager for Agriculture Economic Development, and she is fine with that one little change. So I hope you'll support that. Thank you.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Perry. Anybody wish to speak to it? You wish to speak to it, Councillor Perry? Anybody else? You want to sum up?
Just briefly, I want to really thank the Agricultural Advisory Board for bringing this forward. And it's soil health is so important. I remember the Diane Sachs, who was the Environmental Commissioner of Ontario. She was the last Environmental Commissioner of Ontario, basically said that was probably her #1 issue, was soil health. And so I'm really, as I said, happy that the Ag Board brought this forward, and I hope you'll support it. Thank you.
That was sum up, all in favor? And that passed. Last for Committee of the Whole is 9331, Councillor McDonald. That's the Heritage Listing 173 Lindsay Street South.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have a recommendation also on this one, and if I have a second, I'd like to speak to it.
Councillor Doble, so go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. This report refers to 173 Lindsay Street South in Lindsay. This property is up for sale due to a very unfortunate, sad accident, and the Heritage Committee would like to move forward on this property. My recommendation is that we have the Heritage Committee wait until this house sells before they move forward, and at that time address with the new owners what their plan is. I think this would be very appropriate at this time. I have talked to the manager, Emily Turner, and she has no issues with this either.
Do you want to make this open-ended, or do you want to put a date where it should come back to council, like maybe second quarter of 2027?
I think it all concerns on when the house sells, and I think when the house sells, that would be a time that they can continue their whatever their plan they have for that area.
Okay, I'll play devil's advocate. What if it doesn't sell?
I guess we'll address that in time to come, I guess, won't we?
That's why I'm suggesting second quarter 2027 to come back to council, and the council of the day can make a decision on where they want to go with it.
Sure, I'm okay with that.
Okay? Councillor Doble, you okay with that? Okay. You want to speak to it, Councillor Doble?
Sure. Yeah, I think that it's really important that we don't have something like this hanging over the title on this property while it's being marketed at this point in time. And because, I mean, the property should be able to sell on its highest and best use. It is a significant property, a historical property, but its location is such that I think there's going to be an awful lot of questions. So I think Councillor McDonald's motion is quite appropriate. I'm not even that fussy on specifying an end date in terms of a due date to have, because as you state, this is a unique property, and unique properties generally take longer to sell. So it could be years before this property sells, and I think that it would be really unfair to be considering a heritage designation on this property while it's on the market.
Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor, just maybe a question for clarification. I do see that Manager Turner is online. I do sit on the Heritage Committee, and I mean, it wasn't a designation we were putting on. We are actually putting a cultural heritage value on it, which is different. And I'm just concerned with the timelines that we're speaking of. I'm wondering if you could, Manager Turner, just give us an idea on what would be the best practice for this coming back.
Ms. Turner.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thanks very much for the question. So yes, Deputy Mayor Richardson is correct. What the Heritage Committee has proposed is listing the property. This essentially puts a hold on demolition for the property, and should a planning application be received for this property, it does allow staff to request studies around the heritage value of the property. It does not prevent demolition. It would just mean that council would be the decision maker should a demolition request for the property be received. Listing is a time-limited form of protection. So if the property were listed today, for example, it would be automatically removed from our heritage register on March 24th. 24th is the date today, in 2028. So that is actually what is being asked for, as opposed to a more permanent heritage designation, which could be considered at a future time, even if a property was listed but is not being requested through the report today. I would say the main drawback in terms of delaying this a future time would be should the property sell 6 months from now, the new property owner could come and get a permit for demolition for the property without any heritage review or any input from council. So that would be the drawback from delaying the listing of the property today, balanced with the legitimate questions that the councillors have brought up around discussion with future property owners. So those are really kind of the two sides, I think, to the listing question with regard to this property.
Thank you. And I mean, I recognize what Councillor McDonald is saying, that this is one that comes with a lot of history and concerns based around how the property is sitting and it's currently on registry to be sold. Is there any way that we can move forward, again, just like we're indefinitely, is there a trigger mechanism where we can revisit as soon as the property is listed, or sold, sorry?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, not in any official capacity. I mean, the trigger mechanism in this particular case would be me watching the real estate listing. We don't get any sort of trigger when properties such as this are sold. So if council wants to revisit this once the property is sold, I could certainly bring it back at that time, but I would basically just have to watch MLS, to be perfectly honest.
Well, like I said, I understand the circumstances around this, and I'm in favor of supporting due to the history on this property. So I know it's onus on you, but I think moving forward that it should be revisited once it's sold.
Thank you. Maybe Councillor McDonald, the motion should be that it be revisited when sold or second quarter of 2027 for council to look at it again.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to sum up?
No, I think it's pretty well, I think everybody knows the situation here, so it doesn't need to be talked about.
All in favor? And that's passed. So the motion is that that it not be listed as a proposed heritage listing, but that should the property sell or in second quarter 2027, it come back to the council of the day for their consideration. Thank you. That's the end of Committee of the Whole. Move on to Planning Advisory Committee. And that the minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of March 11th, 2026 be received and the recommendations included in section 10.3 of the agenda be adopted. I have a mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Richardson and Councillor Warren. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. Move on to the consent agenda. Councillor Doble, I believe you have that agenda.
Yes, I do, Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that all of the proposed resolutions shown in section 11.1 of the agenda be approved and adopted by council in the order that they appear on the agenda and sequentially numbered, save and except for items 11.1.2, 11.1.4, 11.1.5, 11.1.10, 11.1.16, and 11.1.17.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's passed. First extraction 11.1.2 is the amendment to the real property acquisition policy, and that's yours, Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll move to receive the report. I did talk to our solicitor, Robin Carlson, and I guess what I want to actually move is to amend Appendix B as follows. Added to the definition of environmental features as the second sentence is the following. Includes wetlands, woodlot, significant tree cover, and lands that provide connectivity between a navigable water body and other public lands or lands with similar environmental features thereon, wildlife corridors. So that's the only change. I moved the rest of the resolution. It's just Appendix B that I want to amend.
Solicitor Carlson, are you all right with those changes, or do you have any comments?
Yes, and thank you to the councillor for connecting with me in advance of the meeting. The definition of environmental features as proposed is currently, or was currently in the report, more narrow and included natural heritage features as defined in the provincial planning statement, and including also hazardous lands, hazardous sites, and floodways as defined in the provincial planning statement. Added to that definition, the councillor proposes to add environmental features, which she set out: wetland, woodlot, significant tree cover, and wildlife corridors, which would be a broader definition to what would be set out in the provincial planning statement. So this would allow the city, in the case of development under the Planning Act, to receive by way of donation lands that are perhaps not supported by an environmental impact study indicating that they're meeting these higher thresholds for environmental significance, and therefore development on those properties is not an option, but that they have these other features such as wildlife corridors that make them acceptable for acquisition by the city.
So is this a good motion in your opinion, or you see it as being restrictive?
I would support this recommendation as an improvement for the recommendation that I put on the floor for you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Perry, did you wish to speak to it? Anybody else wish to speak to it? Seeing none, do you want to sum up?
Yeah, just briefly, I looked through that and I was going, wildlife corridors are really important. We had something called the Kawartha Naturally Connected, and they did a lot of work to further wildlife corridors. And this has no monetary value. It's just something that we should be looking at. So I hope you'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a mover and seconder. All in favor? And that's passed. Did you want to move the rest of the report?
So moved.
Okay. Seconder for that, Councillor Perry. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on to 1114, Councillor Ashmore, amendments to the dock encroachment policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I want to thank staff for the report. It's a big report, and I've had people come to me express that they would really like to get more details of what this whole thing encompasses. This is basically, there's been some major changes of the docking policy, and the docking policy has been a contentious issue for many years, and we kind of calmed it down in the last few years, but I'm just kind of weary of that, whether if we don't get some more public input, then we're going to come back to where we were a few years ago. Now, we've done a lot of work here. I'll just sort of divide this into two. There are actually three areas, but I'm not sure why we didn't include the third. There's actually Ward 2 has some small amount of docks, but primarily this report here is about Cedar Glen and Thurstonea. So Cedar Glen, we brought in the dock licensing system because at one time there was a private group that wanted to control the shoreline. I'm going to have a motion shortly. So we do have, and the people really were happy that we had the city as a third party, which they did a survey, and I have a copy survey of it, of the dock. There's about approximately 32, 33 dock spaces in Cedar Glen. There's about 3 or 4 vacant spaces as well. And then the issue so it was dealt with and approved. And then we found that half of the people in the Cedar Glen community could not transfer their docks like they could with Thurstonea. In Thurstonea, I'll get to that in a second, there's over 200 dock spaces, a huge waterfront. And they could, doesn't matter where you live in Thurstonea, you could live back up further. On Silver Birch, way up back in the hills, and you can still have a dock, and you can have it transferred to the next owner of your property. So at the time, there was Councillor McDonald and former Councillor Smeaton met me there, and other members of council. I think I've certainly been there and driven by there. Councillor Warren knows the area too, and we've all been there probably now and again just to check on it. But we finally made it fair for everybody to have it transferred. So that's fine. But the issue is more in Thurstonea. What I see with this, there's a couple of things here. So we're just been made aware that Trent Severn Waterway wants a separate, completely new, separate type of permitting system, and I'm not sure how that's going to be rolled out, I guess, or how we can educate the public. I mean, I have to be myself educated on, and council, like what exactly will this entail, because it's going to add more layers of permitting if people want to renew their dock and more specifications. So I really think that, moving on to Thurstonea, which is the biggie, you have approximately, several members of council have walked that shoreline with me, and there are empty spaces. There's something like 20 empty spaces. We've walked it, mayor's walked it with me, other councillors have, Councillor McDonald did one time. But my first question is to staff. So we have, this year we're doing an extensive drainage survey of Thurstonea, and that's going to have a major impact of where we're going to be putting culverts and spacing of docks, if there's going to be new docks. So my question first is, if we're going to have approximately 15 to 20 empty spaces, and by the way, there is a waiting list, and I know they say there's no waiting list, but I have a list that I've compiled for many years, and it's here in my hand. That's just for my records, so I'm just showing you that there is a list of people that expressed interest in these vacant dock spaces. So basically, if staff could confirm that we're going to be basically turning about 10 to 15 spaces into public parks along the shoreline. Is that what we're doing when we have these empty spaces now along the shoreline of Thurstonea? That's my first question, if I could have that verified.
Who's your question to?
To the City Solicitor, Carlson, please.
Ms. Carlson?
So I am aware that the engineering department is doing a study with the outcome that they're looking to improve drainage on the roadside, but I'm not aware that it will result in dock removal, which would result in there being spaces available at the waterfront. So perhaps the Director of Engineering can assist with the answering of this question.
Director Rojas?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we are currently undertaking. Through you, Mr. Mayor, so we are currently, the engineering department is currently undertaking a drainage review of all of Thurstonia. It involves the survey of all the right-of-ways within Thurstonia, an existing drainage pattern. We will have multiple solutions for addressing the existing draining concerns in Thurstonia. To my understanding, it will not affect docks, as docks are not within the right-of-way, but on over the water. So the drainage study should not impact the location of any docks. Erosion, on the other hand, may. So there was an erosion or slope stability for the boulevard areas. So erosion and slope stability would have a greater impact to location of docks than drainage.
Thank you. Okay.
I just have one more question, please, through you to the solicitor. Could you explain how the new system is with Trent Severn Waterway? So they're asking for new permitting for the city. This applies not only to Thurstonia, Cedar Glen, but Pleasant Point, and I'm sure lots of other places along all our lakes, so waterfront properties. How will this impact, I'll give an example, like Pleasant Point is another community where people are trying to get the walls repaired, and you know, it's just a quagmire trying to find out who actually looks after it. But if it's Trent Severn Waterway, then are they the ones that are going to be basically running the permitting system now, or how is this new directive from Trent Severn Waterway going to affect how we implement docking policies and renewals for us?
Ms. Carlson?
Thank you. The city already has water lot licenses at Thurstonia and at Cedar Glen. And it's one large lot that the city has, and the city had no fee from TSW in obtaining that. And that allowed the city to have jurisdiction over the docks. With respect to smaller individual docks, where there's one dock, perhaps at the end of a road allowance leading to water, that's where we've started discussing with the TSW, because they're looking to have the individuals get a water lot license. And historically, it has been a condition in our license. However, we've then subsequently found that the individuals haven't gotten the license. So we're looking at trying to make the process a little simpler by us obtaining the licenses. We don't have details on what that would look like at this point in terms of cost. So yes, an appropriate amendment would be that any cost would be that would be responsible, the dock owner would be responsible for that. But at this time, we're more looking to make it a condition that we receive this license first for those individual docks, so we can ensure that we have TSW licenses for them. But for the larger areas where there's many docks, we have one license for all of the docks.
Okay, thanks. So the issue isn't the fees. The fees are very marginal. The increases, that's not the issue. The issue more is time, permitting and whatnot. But I'm just putting it out there that I just would like to see more. Is there a way I could receive it? We could receive this report, but have some sort of a jump-in public forum of some sort of comments that people can, you know, put their comments in, and maybe recommendations, or like, we've only had this publicly released for like 6 days, and people, you know, since the agenda was posted on the website last Wednesday afternoon, so we've had, you know, 6 days, and people really haven't had a chance to look at this. My proposal, my motion would be to receive this, but have a public input. It doesn't have to be public meetings or anything, but just jump in and then for a month, and then jump in some sort of a dialogue, comments, and then come back to council in a month's time. I just think that people should really have some ability to comment on this, because it's only been here for less than a week, you know, publicly. So the new rules and changes and whatnot.
Well, I think they always have an opportunity to go on, jump in and say their piece. I'm not sure what we need to do to get a specific item up there. But the first thing, CAO.
It's through to the mayor. If it's the wish of council to seek some additional consultation and feedback, then I would just simply recommend refer the policy back to staff for consultation on the jump-in platform and provide any feedback. You're probably going to need a little more than 1 month, so I would suggest maybe the following month cycle, we would bring that back with the policy as drafted.
You want to do that?
I would propose that, please.
Okay. Is there a seconder? Councillor Perry? Okay. Do you want to speak to it?
Just a motion to provide more public consultation. Thank you.
Councillor Richards, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just looking for clarification, because when I read this policy update, you know, we started talking about this in 2018. I think that's when I first was on council. And this is about legalizing the encroachments, I believe, not to offer additional space, whoever's looking for space. So it's about putting in the longer term agreements to reflect the current encroachments that are happening. So that's the way I read it. I'm saying, is like, can someone answer me currently, like how many licenses are currently in place and how many are outstanding? Because to me, or somebody set me straight, because that's the way I'm reading the policy.
Ms. Carlson, would you like to answer that?
When the initial dock encroachment policy was put into place, the wording made it clear that we were only licensing existing encroachments, not adding a new encroachment. The amendments to the policy proposed don't address that issue, change that issue at all, and continue to develop the policy with respect to how we continue to legalize existing encroachments.
Thank you.
Follow-up questions? Thank you for that. And so currently, do you have any concerns with how many licenses are outstanding at this time?
No, all of the areas where we were having issues, wherein the residents themselves were experiencing overcrowding and issues, were in the Thurstonia and Cedar Glen areas primarily. We've subsequently found other areas where there have been issues, that there have been complaints. The bylaw itself, the encroachment bylaw, is something that is enforced by complaint. So if there is no concern from the public, we don't license the areas. But when when items do come to us, we've been able to license or in some cases, depending on the circumstances, sell shoreline. And so you'll see that in this evolution of the policy, we try to delineate between the different sort of built forms, the different circumstances on the ground, and when we sell shoreline, when we would lease shoreline and what the conditions would be, and when we license shoreline.
Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I kind of know this well. I've looked at it for a long time. This has been going on for quite some time. I just want to point out that a lot of things have been done in this process. I think I accompanied, Councillor Ashmore a few times, been out there a couple of times, and we've got everything covered. We've got backlots. We got grandfathered that's, with the docking. It covers everything. The reason why TSW is involved is because the erosion that's happening on the waterfront, and that's where they get involved to say that. And that's why they get involved, is because they say you can't add anymore because of the erosion and everything that's happening on the shoreline. So everything has been that. And to Mr. Ashmore, Councillor Ashmore, yes, you can transfer it to your new owner now. It's in the new policy. And they just must permit their number of dock. So I think we've got everything covered. Having a public meeting just to see that, and I think the only thing you're going to get at a public meeting is that I want more or I want less, and so on. That's already been dealt with. We know the empty spots, and if there's an empty spot, TSW will get involved, and they will decide whether or not it's the right thing to do to put something where the bank is erosion, starting to erode. So anyway, I don't understand. I don't think a public consultation is going to do anything here. I think they've done a great job on the report. They even reduced the amount of money. Some people were paying different money, so they just had a flat rate with $155, which was great. Good report. I don't think a public waiting for more public would change anything except for more complaints that come in that we've already dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Through you, and I'm wondering if I could ask the Councillor Ashmore, how he feels people will be impacted, because it's a good report. So I'm just wondering why you're bringing this forward.
Yeah, through you to Councillor. So bringing it forward because, and I want to thank Councillor McDonald. He did come out and help me, and former Councillor Smeaton, and that was great, and I appreciate that. We righted the wrongs back in the day, not long ago, 2-3 years ago, with Cedar Glen. The thing is, I've learned that this can be a very contentious issue, and don't just put it under the rug, because people need to know. And firsthand, I had 250 people show up for a docking meeting in Dunsford in May of 2019. So I know when people get ticked off and they don't get, I mean, when I say that, I mean, they're frustrated. They're not mad at us, but they're mad at the fact that they weren't given the time to absorb all these new rules. There are several issues that need to be dealt with. Let me first start with Cedar Glen. There are a couple of spots where they were not allowing, we're dealing with them right now, allowing the transfer of the 800, I call them 800 series, 800 addresses. If you had an address 700 to 799, you were fine. If you were 800 or above, you could transfer. So there's a couple of instances where they can't transfer, but I don't. We're dealing with that. But in Thurstonea, this is, like I said, this is the big one. I would like to know once and for all, like, how many empty spots that we have. We've walked this. Mayor Elmsley and I have walked this area a few years ago on the eastern side of Hazel Street, and we need to know clarity. What exactly is it? We're just guessing. Like I want to know where these, not just me, but council and the public would like to know, where are these empty spaces, because they're going to be eventually turned into public parks. So you're going to have, instead of offering it to the people in Thurstonea as an example for a docking space, which we will make revenue out of, we're going to be turning it into public parks. Now, we already have 2 nice public areas where people can use in Thurstonea, but there are some things that just need to be finalized and clarified. So I'm not saying this is not a good report. It's a good report, but there's still more work to be done, and we need to have some clarification on some of these final items. We've done a lot here. At one time, we were going to lose like 50% of these docks, but we fought back and we got it back. So that was great. And it was pretty scary at one time. We were going to lose half the shoreline. So, but council agreed to retain it back to what it was, and the people were happy with that. We just want to have some clarification of where these empty spots are. So that's all I could say. I mean, I just would prefer that it would come back.
But I'm thinking it may be outside the purview of this report, because this is dealing with encroachments. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll receive this, perhaps maybe a further memo down the road or something, and then I could get all these other issues dealt with, if that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I got some other people wanting to weigh in here, so Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I also extracted this, but I had some very specific questions. Can I ask them now, or do we want to all right, okay. And within that, I do support Deputy Mayor Richardson and Councillor McDonald's comments in terms of public consultation. This is dealing with encroachments. I don't see, I'm all for public consultation, but in this particular case, I just don't see how it will change anything. It's encroachments. Encroachments means a mess. This is actually helping fix a mess. with the new policy. My questions are the water lot license by the Trent Severn Waterway. Why is the city incurring the administrative effort and cost to secure them? Why not the dock licensee? That's my first question.
Thank you for the question. Thank you. The city had originally looked and set up our licenses in a way that it did make the burden on the person who is the owner of the dock. However, we 5 years later have found that there was virtually no compliance with that. And in order to make it easier for dock owners to comply, have started speaking with TSW about the city acquiring the water lot licenses in an efficient and cost-effective way, so that we can then remove that condition because we know it has been complied with, and so that we are acting in alignment with the TSW and ensuring that the dock owner has complied with the conditions of the TSW.
Okay, thank you. I still think we have to provide a dock license, and then prior to providing a CKL dock license, we would say, show us your TSW license first. Is one way of approaching it. My second question is, I didn't see, there's a cost, I'm assuming there's a cost of the TSW license. Is that buried in our dock, are we absorbing that, or is that cost transferred through our own dock license back to the dock licensee? How's the money flow go?
And thank you for the question. The policy isn't clear on that, and I do agree that a beneficial amendment would be to indicate that any cost would be borne by the owner of the dock.
Okay, that's a great proposal. So we can't accept it as printed then. We're going to put it back to staff to add that amendment.
We can do it with the provision that gets added.
Okay.
Go, Dan.
I make that motion.
You got anything else?
That's all I had. I read it over many times trying to find who pays for this license, and it wasn't there. So
Councillor McDonald.
Yeah, just one more comment. Thank you through you. Councillor Ashmore, I think when you talk about the 800 series, I think you'll find that they can transfer now. If that was a worry of yours, I think they can do that now. I checked with that, and also with the dollar amount. There was also talked about that with the religious services, and they're going to be looking into that because I asked the same question. So anyway, thank you very much. And I think all the empty spaces that you talk about, if you look at all the maps, they're all mapped out and they're all identified. Whether or not they're capable of using it for a dock is the question by TSW. Thank you.
Thank you. So, you have withdrawn your motion for public consultation, and where we are now is are you going to move the amendment for the dock encroachment policy as printed with Councillor Joyce's change to the issue about monies? Yeah, are the mover and seconder comfortable with that? Yeah? Okay. So are we all clear on what we're doing here? Ms. Carlson, you've taken a note about the flow-through money to the TSW?
I have, thank you.
Yeah, so it's as printed with that amendment, all in favor? And that passes. Let's take till 3:25, because we've been here for 2 hours now, And so we'll take a break till 25 to 3. Okay, folks, we'll call back to order. Okay. Councillor Joyce, you had the dock encroachment extracted as well, but you got your questions answered?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 1115. Councillor Perry, you have that extracted.
I do, Mayor, and thank you. And I'm really hoping this will simply be a procedural matter. We were talking about how to possibly preserve, very specifically, our committees of council, their abilities to engage more broadly with residents through retaining their ability to have subgroups, study groups, those kinds of things, subcommittees, as long as they're preserved with the rules that apply, especially with the ombudsperson. So if you recall, back in the fall, we had the debate, staff were engaged, we listened, and we concluded with, I think, a unanimous resolution that the clerk's office draft amendments to the city's terms of reference to enable them to create subgroups, again, compliant, it specifies, with the Municipal Act and consistent with the ombudsperson's guidelines. The only thing that I'm really going to present today, Mayor, is that we did receive a report back. It stated some of the concerns and issues of staff. Those were brought forward when we last addressed this, and the report doesn't have the draft amendments for us to consider as directed in this motion. So my motion would simply be that we return this to staff to be able to provide those draft amendments. I've been talking to staff. I want to thank Deputy Clerk Sarah for her engagement in this, and also Councillor McDonald. He volunteered to, moving forward, there are some ideas around how it could be easy to draft these amendments to enable those subgroups and be consistent with the ombudsperson. And I would just bring a motion as circulated to the mayor's call for extractions that this be put back to staff to actually provide us then with the some draft amendments to debate and consider, as was moved by us pursuant to the previous resolution. Thank you.
You're seconding that. Thank you. Do you want to speak to it before I do?
I'll speak after you.
No, go ahead.
Just briefly, it was pretty clear in the resolution that more information was going to come back. I don't want to get into the ins and outs, and I hope it doesn't go that way, because I've got lots of information, and I have talked to the ombudsman's office and whatever, ombudsperson. So no, I'll wait for maybe your comments. Thank you.
Well, I think what staff did is they looked at it very closely, and they concluded that they could not bring back something that was not in the best interests of the city and not in the best interests of committees. We have some 47 committees of council. We have trouble in many of those committees getting quorum now. So to create a subcommittee or a working group that is not sanctioned by council, therefore is not under the protection of council, flies in the face of good government and is contrary to being open and transparent, because we don't know what those subgroups can do. Therefore, the clerks and staff in general concluded that they could not bring forward anything along the lines of what perhaps council thought they were asking for, but they did give options, and the options that they gave included the committees could be expanded if they found that they had too much work and needed more people. The committees could appoint amongst the committee members working groups, or they could ask for more support from staff in order to address those things. The big unknowns are, why would we create more people to not show up at meetings than we do have now? And so I think that what staff did was more than appropriate and did address what council asked them for, given the legalities and the rules that we have in place surrounding committees of council. So, Councillor Warren, if you'd like to weigh in on that, that's fine.
Oh, where do I start? You know, after researching this, and especially I'm focused also on B City, which is left out of this whole scenario. We've worked really well with a subcommittee, I guess, of EAC. They had the Pollinator Action Committee. You know, this is unfortunate because I've already talked about this at council 2 or 3 times, and we're back at this again. And there's nothing in this report to deal with that issue. And they have lots of volunteers that would like to do things for the city, you know, going to events and promoting pollination like they have for, I don't know, it feels like about 10 years. So that's a separate issue, and I might make a motion about that separately. But with committees, like last week at an EAC committee meeting, it was like, well, we wanted, you know, have a little subcommittee to look at you know, tree bylaws, let's say. And well, you know, you can't really have a subcommittee, but yes, you can do that within that committee. And that was also said to us, no, you can't do that. If you have less than 50% of people in a committee having a meeting, it's really not a meeting because it's less than 50%. So that's the amount of people. It's 50% kind of is the guidance. And it says it's also important to note that committees are able to assign a task to their appointed members. So without the implementation, it says, of a working group. Well, you know, that it was very interesting. People just didn't know what to do. So, oh well, maybe we'll just have to call each other or something. It really made no sense. You know, an example of a task force would be a review. They say task force. This is in the ombudsman's report. An example of such a task would be a review of a proposed bylaw. When staff consult with a committee on a proposed bylaw, members of that committee can be tasked to review the proposed bylaw, and comments can be submitted to staff. Those comments would then be consolidated by staff and presented to the committee at the next committee meeting for a fulsome review. So you can also have people on the committee doing research and coming back is basically is what that says. I've got like all sorts of information about, yes, you could have a subcommittee. So, and especially B-City, it's just not, I don't know what staff's going to do with that, but they need to do something. That's why I sent a lot of the staff the whole package on B-City, so they would know that you have to do these different issues. You have to go forward and have a group like the Pollinator Action Committee actually doing things for the municipality. So there needs to be more research coming back, because we've already talked about this and nothing has come back.
So why don't we create a committee called B-City?
I would like, well, I kind of talked about that 6 months ago or whatever.
My recollection is you said the B-City people didn't want to be a committee. They were a part of EAC.
Well, they are, because that's how we set it up, and it made sense. And so these people are not part of EAC. We haven't been able to have a Pollinator Action Committee because it's kind of in limbo. I sit on that, the chair of EAC sits on it, another person from EAC sits on it, and then there's a whole other group that does the work. And like we've put in a pollinator garden and worked with the city over that, but now that's a big issue. I was expecting to see more information, and it was basically just, here's the Ombudsman report, which I've read lots. So I think it needs to go back to staff. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to make a motion that we look at setting up a committee for B-City, I would be very supportive of that. Councillor, Deputy Mayor Richards.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. More comments and maybe a question to follow up, but recognizing what's being put in front of us right now, obviously, I do also sit on a committee that did have some sub-working groups, and one of the things that I definitely provided to that group was saying that we're moving forward with this because it's about safe working conditions, it's about insurance coverage, and it's about protecting our members and volunteers. And this report, obviously, I'm going to ask staff to clarify how this approach aligns with the recommendations from the Ontario Ombudsman, and I'm going to look for that. But I'm just saying, we have an option here. It does provide capacity. It does address resources. Council can, if they can't fulfill their mandate, we can expand membership, like you said. We can adjust the scope of work, and we can ask for staff support. So it's not like you're said and done. It's we have to do business differently. This is cause and effect. We're moving in this direction because we're providing that type of insurance and protection for our committee members. And you may not agree with me, but what work's not getting done? If you can add it to your agenda, if you can have people making it more transparent, it's part of the committee that's doing the work. It just becomes an agenda item, and you can have those conversations. If I can ask staff to weigh in on the fact that we're clearly getting some clarity here, and we're trying to align it with what is being proposed by the Ontario Ombudsman. And I'm thinking it's best practices for governance and accountability is why why this is in front of us right now. It's cause and effect, and if I could have staff weigh in, I'd appreciate it.
CAO.
Thank you, and through the mayor to Council. The intent of the report was really to provide an overview of the tools that are existing that committees can use to conduct their business in a manner that aligns with the guidance that we've received from the Ombudsman's office. So we're taking into account open meeting requirements. We're ensuring that the work that's being done is being done by the members who have been appointed by Council to fulfill the mandate of the Advisory Committee, Board, or Task Force. So we really wanted to highlight that committee members can continue to engage members of the public through deputations or presentations at the committee level. Or in addition to, they could have special committee meetings with a scoped down agenda to really focus on the subject matter at hand. Invite members of the public to come and speak at those meetings, to have a dialogue with members, to provide that forum for the exchange of ideas and information depending on the subject matter at hand. And while doing that, we're also adhering to the open meeting requirements. So the location, the time, and the business at hand would be posted on the city's website as an example, so that anyone who wishes to maybe not speak has an opportunity to attend to observe. So we're fulfilling that requirement and being open and transparent with the business that's being conducted. On another note as well, with the work being conducted by the appointed members, we are also ensuring safe working conditions. So the appointed members are covered under the city's liability policy. So we're making sure that all individuals doing work have that level of safety.
Thank you. Did you want anything you wanted to say?
I guess maybe through the mayor, I did reach out sort of generally to council. Just we're really struggling just with the direction that is in front of us to bring back some structured amendments that might accommodate certain types of subcommittees or working groups. Deputy Clerk certainly touched on the legislative structures or considerations. But en masse, we're really not seeing where we can structure into just standard terms of reference. I'm just telling you that the ability to have open-ended or open sort of working groups. Now, we're not talking about meetings, and there is a clear distinction here that, what we were putting forward was essentially saying you appoint committees, you delegate work to them, and the members that are appointed obviously have tasks and things to do and accomplish, and they're supported by the city, by resources, and they feed back to you. There isn't clarity that, or maybe it's different, those committees are not delegated your authority to then delegate new or expanded work or to bring on members outside of your appointments to accomplish that same work. So essentially, I don't think the debate really, in my mind, is about the sort of working groups, subcommittees, and so on. It's more, how do we structure those committees? I think, as the mayor was sort of describing, how do we scope their work to include what council wants to accomplish? But the ability to recruit volunteers outside of council's appointments is not, actually it's not something that a committee can do, and it's not something that you can delegate through to a committee as well. So that's kind of where the struggle is. I'm certainly understanding the overall volunteerism side of things here, believe me, and so what we were really looking for, if anything today, is some very specific clarity on where either working groups or some sort of work or structure is needed where it currently isn't. And we would go and try to create amendments either for existing committees or structures, or maybe put forward some options for new ones. But honestly, doing them en masse, there's just so many complications in creating that process. And I appreciate that that's what was directed. The only other thing I would like to point out is that same resolution, council did direct that working groups, subcommittees be removed. No, it said that they be removed. That's not what it said. It said that they be removed from the current terms of reference that are existing. So we're looking for bringing back to you for future committees other options or ways that maybe working group subcommittees could work, but that is absolutely counter to the current same resolution where we were directed to update and remove establishment of working groups or subcommittees or the holding of working meetings from the mandate of each group in the current terms of reference for committees of the city. So again, it's more of a, we're touching in to get some better direction on where we need to focus, some attention and possibilities for other working group structures.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. A lot of clarification that just happened around the table here and good conversations. Just want to point out volunteers are very important. You know, like we need volunteers to do some of the work and so on. But in the report, as it was just pointed out to me, that we did expand working groups, more support, subcommittees. I think the key factor is that we always have to have a term of reference, code of conduct, rules, and a policy. And we as councillors, if sit on a committee or a board, we must make sure those rules apply to everybody, right? So if you start having over and above this, and how far do you go? You know, you have a committee or a subgroup, and you've trained everybody what the rules and regulations are, and then this group takes a bunch of people that you don't know, so on. I think it could be very complicated. I don't see, I think what the real thing is that maybe Councillor Perry, if he has an issue or a issue of a group or subgroup or something, maybe that can be talked about after council and whatever, and you could work with that interest, because I don't know of any issues. Nobody's told me of issues. So until I know there's an issue, how can you make a decision? If everybody's following the rules and you can expand it, you can have a work group and a support group and a subcommittee, then that should be enough, because everybody's following the rules, because it's our job to make sure everybody's following the rules. But I don't know if this is the spot to talk about if there's issues on a committee or whatever. That's something that could be probably talked about with the manager and to discuss to see if something needs to be changed in that area. But that's my comments on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Wong.
So through you, this question to the CAO. So if I were to make a motion that B City become a committee of council, what would that look like? Would those people who are members of B City, because we are a B City, we paid our dues this year, how would they go? Would they be allowed to go to events? Would they be allowed to go out and about and do things like that? Go to Settlers Village, making bee hotels, that sort of thing. How would that work if it's so structured as a committee with somebody taking the minutes and all that sort of thing? Like, how would that work?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I mean, I won't be able to answer all of the iterations that you were posing, but essentially, I think the first order of business would be understanding what the group, and then by extension, what council is willing or wants to accomplish through the group. So I mean, I understand B City. It's actually a council commitment. It's not a particular committee commitment. And so we're supporting that program quite proactively at the EAC level, at the staff level, and we're meeting the requirements. If you are suggesting that we need to do more, or that there are other opportunities like community and so on, I would not suggest necessarily that an advisory committee structure is the best, but you providing direction and council asking us what is possible, that's what I was recommending or suggesting that we would try to figure out. It might be an advisory committee. It might be a volunteer management committee structure that we use differently, and it has different nuances. There may be some areas that we can accomplish. There might be others that we can't. I'm not sure at this point, but I think if we understand that council wants to engage or do something different, then we should at least go down that path. Looking at it under the umbrella of it maybe being a working group, maybe being a subcommittee, and then doing portions of the work. Obviously, we're we're rotating here. We're not getting to what the meat of it is or what we want to actually accomplish. So that's what I was suggesting in terms of follow-up guidance.
Well, that's what I was looking for. And so, because we've already had this debate before. So for me, that's what I was hoping to see in this report, was some possibilities of, and one of the initiatives that makes us a B city is to form a group, a working group, whatever you want to call it, is to go out and do those good deeds. And so that is actually part of being a B city. So should I do a memo, or how should I deal with this? I don't want to take away from the other main issue here. So,
yeah, and through the mayor and the mayor confirming it, and I would agree. I think probably the best would be a memo, whether that comes from you individually and also from EAC consultation or others. And then it would be sort of brought through council. We would look for some direction to specify what you're looking to accomplish in terms of the structure and the program.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Perry.
Is this summation?
Do you want to
Is
do
this
it on sum up?
I'll wait till summation, that's fine.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, you're on for sum up.
Thanks very much, Mayor. And I'd really like to start by looking at the historical record that the CAO brought up. In fact, at the same meeting that we did pass this request and direction for draft amendments to look at to enable subgroups, the CAO is absolutely right. We did take away subgroups and subcommittees and sub-working group powers from our existing committees. And I think it's very important to remember, we're not talking about councils of committee being formed by this council. We're not talking about the short-term rental task force or the roads task force. We're really confining this to whether committees of council are able to have subgroups, right? And at the very same meeting as the CAO mentioned, where we decided, wait a minute, we should retract that power, was for the very reason, Councillor McDonald, you mentioned. There were no rules in place. And that's why there was an exchange, in my opinion, a mediation or a compromise, that then my resolution, which I think passed unanimously, was for, okay, if we're going to take away subgroups because there aren't any rules in place, that we then have the clerk's office return some draft amendments for us to consider how we can amend the terms of reference to enable them to create subgroups, again, compliant with the Municipal Act and with the guidelines for public meetings, if applicable. And I wish, actually, the CAO, I wish your remarks were in the report, because I didn't see any draft amendments that we could have this debate. I think we relitigated. We went through all this when we pulled back the subcommittees and the subgroups, and that's why we went forward to advance the debate to look at different options in terms of amendments. I submitted possible amendments for consideration to the clerk's office, pursuant and inconsistent with the guidelines of the ombudsperson, or it's as simple as being able to reference Section 235 of the Municipal Act, which says if you don't have a majority of committee members on a subgroup, then it's not necessarily an open meeting. It's not an open meeting. Not necessarily. It's not an open meeting. However, if there's more comfort in going forward, then perhaps we should put some of those open meeting guidelines around any subgroup. That's what the spirit of this resolution was back last fall. And that is the debate I was hoping that we could have more informed today. Questions of safety and insurance come up. Well, I'll get there in a second. I won't take too long. But I do want to show that there are ways possible on this, and that the spirit of this coming through is that we're seeing across sectors now closing up of circles for participation, for people to get involved and for access points. If we don't have quorum on committees, that's a function of substance, not a procedural fix. We have to be able to do and rally quorum. One of the reasons we might not be seeing that is because I know, I've heard from young people and talking to volunteers, a lot of people don't want to apply and go through a big interview process and sit on something as formal as a city committee. So a subgroup, whether it be a subcommittee or a study group, which also brings expertise into that committee's consideration, provides people with a less formal means of being involved. Also, it's a great recruitment ground to be able to identify leadership, develop skills, places where people can come up through, maybe a committee the following year or the year after that, and then possibly to council. So I really make a heart and plea that, and remind councillors that when we passed this looking for amendments unanimously, that was the spirit, to try and broaden that circle. And, we heard some things about, will it be, kind of the Wild West of subgroups? We're not mandating anything. We would simply be, if we have those options in front of us or amendments to discuss, having that at the discretion of a committee. And if they do want a study group or a working group or a subcommittee, perhaps the option is it aligns with the ombudsperson's advice. So names have to be taken, submitted to the clerk's office, have those open meetings. I think it's very important for our democratic process moving forward. Mary, you mentioned governance and transparency and engagement. To me, that's where this begins, at the more informal areas. I talked to an insurance guru here locally before the meeting. What's insured is the bona fide committee and its work. And this could be seen as work of a bona fide committee without insurance implications. And so I'll just wrap up my comments today by saying we had, in my view, a clear direction on the table. Not to relitigate what we already talked about in the fall, but to move this discussion forward, to look at some draft options. There are options available, from amending terms of reference for committees to the ombudsperson's list, 5 or 6 things, to simply citing Section 258 of the Municipal Act that says if you're going to have a subgroup, a study group, a subcommittee, it can't have more than 50% committee members, and then it isn't under the purview of the ombudsperson's own report. And yes, the dreaded ATV working group, that's cited in that report as well, as to what constitutes a meeting that attracts scrutiny or not. So I'm going to stand by the motion. I would like our direction to be more wholeheartedly brought back. Again, Councillor McDonald said he would help provide some context for this to come back, help me as well, meet with staff around what are some options here, perhaps more of what the CAO said today. I think that needs more consideration and more to be looked at. And that way, in my opinion, our unanimous resolution from last fall is complied with very, very clearly. Thank you.
So, were you requesting a recorded vote? No? Anybody? No? Okay. All in favor?
Well, can I just be clear on the motion, Mayor? Yeah. Can I just be clear? Yeah. So the motion is that this be referred back and that the resolution, I just had it in front of me. I don't have the number from the fall. It's in the report, actually. So thank you for that. Just one moment, please. There it is.
2026-003.
2025-003. So that motion, that staff report back on with the information required by that motion by the end of Q3. Give some time to look at it and for the CEO to add in remarks that I think is worthy of us to further this debate rather than rehash it today, given that we did that before and we decided that we would go this step to further that debate. That's what this resolution does. It furthers, to me, this really important debate moving forward.
All in favor? You're in favor? And that passes. Councillor Warren, you also had that extracted. Are you happy with getting your questions answered, or?
Yes, I've got a route forward. Thank you.
Next extraction, 11110, is review of council computer system policy. Councillor Ashmore, that's yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering who I could ask this to, the CAO perhaps, or someone, okay. Through you to the CAO. So it's just a question here on this new policy. So we're looking at, and I was talking to the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, Mr. Evans, and he explained to what the reasonings were of members of council and and staff, some staff members, having to have two phones with them, starting, I think it's next term, whatever. If I believe that's what the plan is. So I just wondering, as far as there's two things: the impact on the budget, but also, so there's another thing that he explained. I'm not a technical expert, but two-factor authentication is something that most people have on their phones, and if they, for example, if you're trying to access a bank account or something, they send you by email or text message a 6-digit code, and you have to put it in, which is fine. And I'm just wondering, is that not a way that we could do this instead of having to go through this expensive process of buying new phones, that we could have that app put on our phones? It just seems like we're going to make it very cumbersome and expensive going this way, instead of just, through the assistance of staff upstairs in the IT department, that we could have this, that councillors and other members of staff could have the ability to just have one phone. It just makes life a little more simpler. And so I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on this, and whether this is something is a definite. It sounds like it is if we go forward with this, but are there any alternatives other than having to buy, everybody have to carry two phones with them, which seems kind of, I don't know, too much.
Thank you, through the mayor, and maybe I'll start and maybe refer to staff for any details if you need them. I heard really sort of two. One was budget and that impact, and then secondly was, are there other options with respect to the technology or being able to use the other? I mean, fundamentally, the budget won't change materially with this shift and change. In fact, it might actually be an efficiency overall, because to answer the second part of the question, when we have to collectively maintain various types of technology, we're having to patch, we're having to work, we're having to do workarounds to accommodate those. So it really is one of the main recommendations, as you're rightfully focusing in on, is we want to be able to manage, license, support one set of technology, if you will, that is compatible entirely and as much as possible with all of the systems, the software, the other hardware sort of supports that we're already investing in, and we're doing them en masse. And so, again, this is why I would suggest that shift does not have a material change on the budgets. From maybe a broader budget perspective, and there was conversation about cybersecurity as well. And that's really the other driver to this. And we've gone through extensive review and looking at cybersecurity, and really where the vulnerabilities occur are when we don't have a good handle on the scope and how we're using and what we're using, and to be able to do those different things. So I appreciate that, yes, maybe having two phones, having a personal laptop and a city-issued laptop might pose some inconvenience, but honestly, I think for the other side of it, or the other positives that we're trying to accomplish, that's why we're recommending it fundamentally through this policy. And it's not unique to council. It also applies to all of staff on their computer and technology use as well.
Okay, through the mayor. So, for example, a paramedic or a firefighter would have to have a phone in each pocket. They're going to have their personal phone, and they're going to have a city phone. Is that true? Like, I mean, is that what we're going to be doing? I mean, laptops are another thing. I mean, you don't carry them with you unless you're going from one place to another. But I mean, you know, your phone, if you're going to have one in each, 2 phones, I mean, this just doesn't seem practical to me anyways. But I mean, with the technology that we have, there's cybersecurity measures that you could just have the one phone, even if it's your personal phone, where you don't have issues of someone trying to break into a password or phishing. I guess it's called phishing and that sort of cybersecurity threats. So we're saying though that they're going to have 2 phones all the time then, as an example, like paramedics and firefighters.
So through the chair, if staff are required to have issued technology, be it a phone or laptop, and I don't know specifically, I would have to inquire with the rest of staff what we do for paramedics and for fire, but fundamentally, if we are issuing some sort of technology for your jobs to accomplish them, that's what we're recommending through the respective policies, that they be city issued, that they fall under a certain set of guidelines generally so that they are most compatible with the other technology features that we're implementing. Yes, there's always a solution to have a personal phone and patch things in and do things, but then it becomes very costly, and we're getting advice that we can be quite vulnerable from a security perspective. Again, I'm probably not doing it justice entirely, but certainly that's the fundamentals or the reason why. Chief Information Officer's online as well, if there's specific questions to maybe supplement.
Through you, Mayor and Councillor, you're doing a great job. I agree. And the reality is that we don't like to be in this situation, but this is the modern world that we're living in, and we are exposed. Also, as we had discussed, some personal information can still be captured in the corporate phone. We're not blocking that. So you have the choice to carry a single phone if it's just going to be corporate. But the difference is that these phones, we can now basically, if they're ever lost or broken, we can have them wiped. We can ensure city data that is on those phones is not exposed. And we have better control of that securely as well. And then we're also able to establish standards. And this is a bit of a budget impact. I know that there is budget concern, but we already have budget in place for this. And actually, we would be able to take advantage of corporate rates for the issuance of phones and of the phone plans that the city offers as an employee. So that's just primarily where I think the benefits are. And we're trying to protect high-profile groups that do face intrusions or cybersecurity risks, and ensuring that we can do it in an efficient and affordable manner.
Thank you. Through you to Peter there. Do we have that 2-factor authentication the city does, or do other municipalities have that?
In my previous world, through the mayor and councillor, we did. We had both. We had both options. I can't say for all municipalities, but it's definitely there and an option available. And actually, we are using that format.
Councillor Joyce, you also had that extracted.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and my motion is to refer this back to staff to be rewritten. I'm really not happy with a few of things. I guess my first question is, Dr. Evans, you've removed the capital cost for security cameras. I don't understand how a security camera can compromise data confidentiality, integrity, availability, and can affect financial, reputational, and operational damage to the city. So can you explain how that would be a problem?
Through you, Mayor and Councillor, basically it's not related to that part of the council report and policy. What it's more related to is standardization and the modernization of security cameras and support. Historically, IT has never received a request to install security cameras for councillors at their place of residence. Now, security cameras are very easily installed, and most households have them via the way we're using doorbell blink camera packages, Google camera packages, and it's something that we feel that is easily supportable outside of subsidy from the city. And it's more just making this a more efficient way for security to be provided. And I think it's just more of an administrative cleanup because, like I said, historically, we have no record of it ever being actioned.
Okay, so you're saying future councillors can request security cameras at their home address and the city will supply them and install them. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that a lot of that has already been, most households have that in place already or have the ability to install that. The city has historically never really done that. And I think it's because we've modernized the way security cameras are available to households. Back, I think when this put in, I'm not sure how old this is, but it was very expensive to put a security system in at a household or wherever the intent was of that request. From what we're seeing, that this was not a service that was ever actioned or needed that we're aware of.
Well, actually, it was actioned. I led the way to change the council policy to include this a couple of years ago. Are you aware that we councillors continue to receive threats that constituents know where we live and we have drive-bys and visits? The security cameras don't prevent this, but they are a vital tool to record such transgressions that provides evidence.
So through you, Mayor and Councillor, again, we're just giving you the efficiency and the ability for a cost opportunity here. And if council feels that this is something that they would like to still consider as a service, we leave that up to your feedback and direction.
Well, my position is, these threats don't bother me, but the protection of my family is paramount. And I would very much want to see the capital cost of security cameras remain in this policy for that very reason. Future councillors will need that protection. So my motion is to refer back to staff. My second question is printers. How does a printer exploit weaknesses, compromise data confidentiality, integrity, availability? I mean, you want to give us all a printer. Now, if a future councillor doesn't have a printer, that's great. They can be supplied a printer by the city. But in my case, I need to answer that question first, and then I'll explain.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Mayor and Councillor, basically what we're saying is we're not going to say we would like to issue a printer in a standard format that is got the most modern drivers, that is within cost availability, and is compliant to our current standards of accessibility. So currently we have multiple versions of printers out there that we need to support, and we have to be able to adjust our standard and do workarounds sometime to allow these drivers to work for print. So we get that printers are still a request and a need, but we're looking for that efficiency to say, here's the standard printer, here's the affordable cost, take advantage of the corporate standard agreement that is met with through our procurement process that will give us the best rates for that type of hardware for you. It comes down to being able to ensure that we can support you and get you the service that you require, and not have to advise that we can't put that particular printer that you purchased on our systems if it is not compatible with what we basically have set up our security and our access points to accommodate. So that's the reason behind it. And part of it also is, we're trying to look for a mandate and budget efficiency here. And some printers are very expensive to run and have expensive ink cartridging that has to be replaced, and we're committed to support that as well. And if we can put a standard together and use the corporate agreements to price that out, then we feel that is a better way to go as well. So that's what the reasoning is behind that. So security really isn't the biggest issue around this. It's more around standardization, responsible budget. And then the last part of it is we're just trying to emphasize that let's use the most basic printer set, because we want to, our corporation has a Go Green mandate, and we'd like to, say that really only use printing for the minimal issues that you need, or the minimum documentation that you need, rather than us supporting multiple types of printers and maybe more expensive types of formats and hardware.
Okay, thank you. The amendments did not dig into what you just said now. It's all about cybersecurity risk. It's not about being green and being efficient. In my case, I have two printers. I have a laser printer and an inkjet, black and white laser printer and a 4-color inkjet printer. I literally don't have room for a third printer from the city in my office, so I don't know how to make it fit. So what do I expense to the city is minimal. A toner cartridge maybe once a year, and I don't even expense the whole thing. I expense 50% to my business, 50% to the city. It's not a lot of money, so I think it'll cost a lot more money for a third printer that you wish to support. That's my feeling on it. Anyways, I want to push this back to staff to review. What's missing here is consultation with council members. So I'd like staff to contact us on this policy change and get feedback from us, directly from us, on what we'd like to see in this policy change. And then come back to council with a revised, I'd say end of second quarter is my motion.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Ashmore, do you wish to speak to it?
Other than, just consultation would be great. Just explain what our situations are, and other members of staff too should have some sort of input. So, I think that would be great if we could get this support, just to bring it back to staff and come back here. Thank you.
It has nothing to do with staff. This is the council computer system policy. So it doesn't have anything to do with staff.
But it's going back?
It's going back to staff, but it doesn't affect staff.
No, but there will be consultation. That's good. Yeah, that's fine.
Can we just clarify that? We got it. So through the mayor, maybe just for clarification, so I'm understanding that at this point, the recommendation's being referred back to staff to coordinate consultation with council to provide feedback on what's proposed, and then there will be a follow-up with recommended revisions by the end of Q2. And it would be inclusive of everything that is currently in there in terms of recommendations. Not that that's part of it, I just, for my own clarity. So talking about security cameras, for example, it is a one-line item related to expenses, so we might look at another policy or mechanism that would support the same thing. But essentially, is that what you're looking for in this referral back?
Yes, I think the main thing is consultation with council members on this council policy. None of us were contacted for our feedback on the impacts of this. I'm not happy to carry two phones either, but I also recognize the phone is a cybersecurity risk. This phone here, I have an eSIM in this phone. I went to great lengths and efforts to have two phone numbers in the one phone. So, is that a possibility? But I want to talk to staff behind the scenes about what we can and cannot do to make a secure phone, but also convenient for us to carry around, like I have here. And just as a quick aside, my phone bill was getting ridiculously expensive with having two phone numbers in the same phone. I just 2 weeks ago changed the plan to save myself and the city half the cost. I dropped the cost in half. So, anyways, that's all I have to say for now. Thanks.
Councillor Perry.
Thanks very much, Mayor. And I want to echo those comments around the table. I think this is one where it seems like the nothing about us without us mantra applies. And at the risk of this kind of being a good faith policy, looking for a problem in that, I understand transferring information to be printed can be a security risk, but we're not allowed to print anything that's confidential or that's from a closed session anyhow. We don't do that. Also with the phones, my voicemail says it might not be me checking these messages to encourage people not to leave confidential information. So even if it was hacked, that's a risk avoidance. And so I would, see if there are ways that we're able to build in council realities to the policy, both for efficiency and savings. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Ashmore.
Just to add what Councillor Joyce has said, like councillors are generally pretty frugal. I mean, as far as he brought the example of printers, like I bought a new printer 2 years ago, but got about 6-7 years out of the other one. When you don't have to change a drum maybe 2 years. Printer cartridges, they are expensive than what they used to be. They used to be like $80-90. Now they're about $200, but still. I've black and white. If I want to go get color done, I'll pay for a color card and go to Staples, whatever, and do that myself. But I think we're generally pretty frugal in our costs and keep them down as much as we can, as opposed to having to have another printer come to our desk and have that. So I mean, it's just a bit of consultation. That's all we'd like, and hopefully we can support this motion. Thank you.
Did you want to sum up?
I've done so already. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have mover and seconder. All in favor? And that passes. We're going to do 11-117 before we do 11-116. Councillor Ashmore, that's you. That's the streetlight at Pigeon Lake Road in Falls Bay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Councillor Warren is taking herself out of the room.
Thank you. So I thank staff for the report there, Mr. Archibald, and talk to Mr. Kelly as well for consultation and support and advice. And also, just to give you a bit of a background on here, like this was initiated by a petition that came to council about 6-7 months ago, I think it was. And the people who live there at Falls Bay, it's a community in there, Falls Bay Road, just south of Bobcaygeon, just south of, on Pigeon Lake Road, just south of Highway 36. So the petition clearly stated that they feel through the near misses and the in their opinion, through their lived experiences, that corner is dangerous, entering and exiting from Falls Bay Road going onto Pigeon Lake Road, or County Road 17 as it's also known. I would know all these communities from Lindsay to Highway 36, where Pigeon Lake Road goes. I would say that Falls Bay Road is probably the only community that doesn't have a streetlight. I mean, mind you, it's maybe not a large community, but it's still 45 homes at least, so about over 100 people live in there, 120 people. I've talked to quite a few people in there, and and also some of the evidence that they had given me about streetlights and the history of it. Streetlights are definitely listed as they're not on their deeds per se, but they are listed in MLSs. I know MLSs may not be 100% accurate, but streetlights are really important to the safety of people. And getting to the report, unfortunately, it didn't make the criteria, it didn't make the warrants, as the report says, but there has to be something that we can do for the people in there. So my proposal would be, I would love to have one installed, but it's going to be a tough one to pass. So in the meantime, I would propose that we install permanent reflective signage, if I get the right term, in that corner, just to at least start the process of improving the safety of that corner. Because if anyone's been by there, they know you don't even, unless you look and see where that Falls Bay Road is, it's very difficult to navigate and to see it, especially at night, let alone daylight. So if we were able to install at least some reflective signage, and perhaps the 2027 budget, we could discuss a potential street light then. But I know that street lights, they take a while. I've got a couple of street lights that were approved a couple of years ago, and they're still, hopefully they'll be done this year. But and so have other members here. Council have street lights that are in the queue, but they're going to be installed. But there's a process, it takes time, and there's a budget for it too. There's a finite amount of money that's available to spend on these items, but they're very important items. So I would put forward a motion, receive this report, and that engineering staff could install reflective signage as soon as possible at that location at Pigeon Lake Road and Falls Bay Road, at that corner, to at least improve the visibility of that road. And then as a decision unit for the 2027 operating budget for a street light at that time. That would be my motion I'd put forward. Please.
Let's see if we can get a seconder. Deputy Mayor Richardson, did you wish to speak to it?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. No, I'm in support of Councillor Ashmore's, ask on this, because 36 is also a higher traveling speed road. So any type of beacon, as he stated, reflective sign that brings attention to the intersection, I think is a good way to move forward with safety. And moving forward with a decision unit for 2027 is, it's about improving visibility.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, my question to Councillor Ashmore, have you had a discussion with our traffic manager, Mr. Kelly, on the reflective signage? I find him very cooperative and full of great information, and he comes up with great suggestions. Was that his suggestion for reflective signage?
Thanks. Yeah, I've talked to him. I was actually, as the mayor and Director Rojas suggested it as well. So the full engineering team, and I've talked to him. He's a great resource and has a lot of good ideas. So I definitely tapped into his knowledge. So I did. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a mover and seconder. No other comments? You're good? All in favor? And that's passed. And Director, you're off the hook. Our last extraction, 11-116, Councillor Joyce, the annual waterworks summary report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was able to get my questions answered by staff, so I move it as printed. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Barry. All in favor? And that's passed. That's the end of extractions. Moving on, we have, I'll get there. Bylaws. We have no petitions and we have no other new business. Councillor McDonald, I think you have bylaws?
Yes, I do, through you. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Richardson, that the bylaws shown in section 14.1 in the agenda, namely item 14.1.1 and including 14.1.13, be read the first, second, third time, passed, numbered, signed, and corporate seal attached.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. Can I get a mover and seconder that the closed session agenda be adopted as circulated? Councillor McDonald, Councillor Joyce. All those in favor? And that's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of the items listed on the closed session agenda? Councillor Noble.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I wish to declare conflict with item 16.3.1, the confidential closed session minutes, regular council meeting of February 24th, a meeting in which I was not in attendance. However, the minutes reference a matter to which I previously declared a conflict.
Thank you. At this point of the meeting, City Council will go into closed session to consider the items under Section 16.3 of the agenda. As per our procedural bylaw requirements, I'm asking all electronic participants in our meeting today to confirm to me by raising their hands that they are in a private room where no other persons can overhear the deliberations and the internet connection is secure and not publicly accessible. Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder that council convene into closed session at 3:42 p.m. pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act in order to consider matters identified in section 16.3 of the regular council meeting agenda of Tuesday, March 24th, 2026, namely item 16.3.1 to and including 16.3.4. Mover? Councillor Warren, Councillor Ashmore, all in favor? And that's passed. At this point, the meeting broadcast will now end for members of the public watching on Cogeco, your TV cable. The live stream of the meeting on YouTube and the rebroadcast will now be temporarily paused for members of the public. When closed session is complete, the live stream and rebroadcast of the meeting will resume to address the remaining open session items on the agenda. All remaining staff, with the exception of those involved within closed session, are now instructed to leave the electronic meeting and council chambers at this time. Okay, we're back, live. Madam Clerk, items from closed session?
Through the mayor, matters from closed, item 16.3.1. The confidential closed session minutes for the regular council meeting of February 24th, 2026 were approved. Item 16.3.2, report, CAO 2026-001. Council provided staff with direction respecting the acquisition of a Sheila Boyd Foundation building, property, museum, and collection assets. Item 16.3.3, report, Corp. 2016-018. Council provides staff with direction regarding the collective bargaining mandate for QP 1167. Item 16.3.4, report, ENG 2026-011. A motion is required. The following members of the public be appointed to the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. William Staffler for a term ending November 14th, 2026. Daryl Broadworth for a term ending November 14th, 2026. Daryl James for a term ending November 2026. Dr. Ruth Wilson for a term ending November 14th, 2026. Arthur Hornenbrook for a term ending November 14th, 2026. John Bush for a term ending November 14th, 2026. And that's all the matters from closed session.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Warren. Councillor Doble, you seconding that? All in favor? And that's passed. We now have Deputy Mayor Richardson with the confirming bylaw.
Thank you, and through you, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 be read a first, second, and third time passed, number assigned, and the corporate seal attached.
All in favor? And that's passed. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Joyce, Councillor Ashmore, all in favor? And that's passed.